Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Mortgage Musketeer, where today we're going to be talking about how to build your credit to buy a home. Now, this is going to primarily focus on those people who have no credit, but we're also going to be talking about if you need to build credit fast and if you do have credit but you need to increase it in a hurry. All right, so first of all, we're going to be talking about those people who, where I pull credit, there's nothing showing. I mean, nada. Don't have bad credit, just have no credit at all. It's because you never actually took the time to establish credit. Whether that be because you didn't have a need for it, you paid for everything with cash, you were taught that credit is bad, not bad, you actually need credit. And now you're in a position where you want to buy a home and you don't have any credit, but you need to get some. Going to talk about that. Now, are there programs where when I pull credit and you have zero credit showing that you can buy a home? Yes, there are. And they're called alternate trade lines. And those alternate trade lines are other things that you're paying that will have to get pulled into your credit report and kind of create a credit profile for you. But the one thing that stops everybody is, here's a link. You have to make 12 months of on-time rent payment, and we have to be able to show it. So pay attention to that link, watch it, because if people did that, even if you don't have a credit, we can get you into a home. Now, putting that aside, let's talk about what do you do when you have no credit? Well, then you're put into this really bad position. It's like this circular thing, or told to sit in a corner but put in a round room. All right, it's almost possible because you need to have credit to show that you're credit worthy, but you can't get credit if you have never had credit. So what do? Well, the very first thing and the easiest way to do it is to go into your bank and establish a secured credit card. Typically it's about $300. You're going to put it in there. The bank is going to take it, and sometimes they put it into a CD. They're going to put it somewhere with you so that if you default on your credit card, they have the $300 to make the payment. They're in a win-win situation, really, because either they're going to attempt to make money off of your interest, or they're going to get the money and pay it off with what you've already put in there. So it is a way to begin. All right, so you get a secured credit card, and then when you use it, you got to use it smart. Okay, so here's a video on credit utilization. So in that video, I talk about not putting over 30% of your available balance. So if it was a $300 limit, you never want to put more than $90 on it, and then maintain a little balance on that. Well, the reality is you can pay it off every single month. You don't have to pay any interest on it. Okay, I like to say, hey, put a little bit on there. Just keep a very small amount. That way you know it's triggering every single month. But in theory, you should be able to pay it off and not have to worry about that. And that's for people who are worried about paying interest. My idea is even if the interest rate's a little bit high, and I've got 20, 30 bucks on there, I'm not really paying a whole lot in interest. So I'd rather ensure that every month that I make that payment that is having is registered, that I'm utilizing that credit, as opposed to who knows 4 to 6 months it'll take to register if you're paying it off every month. Would your score be higher paying it off every month? Yes, it would. But remember, we're establishing credit here. So you can go either way. Doesn't matter. I mean, I like the idea of keeping a little bit on there. But as I mentioned, if you pay it all off, suppose that's a myth, you can pay it off all every month and you can still build credit that way. The key there is to make that payment every month. If you fail to make a payment, you've already destroyed your credit before you even got out the gate. Understand that the biggest part that they're trying to do is see if you are credit worthy. To build your credit, you need to obtain credit, put something on there, like your gas or some groceries, never exceed that 30%, and then make the payment every single month. At least the minimum, if not the whole thing. All right? Knock it down every month. And what you're doing is you are establishing the fact that you have credit, you can use your credit, and you can manage your credit by paying for it. Once you do that for 4 to 6 months, it's going to establish your trade lines. When you get that credit card, it is incredibly important that you find a credit card that reports to all 3 credit bureaus. It has to report to Equifax, to TransUnion, and Experian, all 3. Super important, because when you go to get a mortgage, they're going to pull in a tri-merge credit report. Okay, and that tri-merger credit report, what we're going to do is take the mid score because they don't all report the same. All right, so there'd be a little bit of variation, but we're going to take the middle score. We're going to throw out the low score and use the middle score for qualification. So you want those three reporting. Once you've done that and you've established, for 4 to 6 months that you're making the payments, and it's registering on your credit report, then go apply for an unsecured credit card. Once you get an unsecured credit card, you're going to do the same thing. They'll probably give you $500, maybe $1,000, and then you want to do the same thing. Never more than 30%. Always pay it off, okay? Or pay it down, make that monthly payment, and that's going to make this track record, right? And then you're going to have the opportunity where other credit cards are going to come calling because you've established the fact that you have credit, you can manage your credit, and you pay your credit. That means that you're somebody that creditors will want to lend money to, or at least open an available line of credit so that you can spend money and hopefully pay them interest. Don't do that, all right? Get the credit cards, but be very careful on how you utilize your credit. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Don't be the person that maxes out the credit cards. Okay, again, that credit utilization video is going to explain how all that works. I won't go in depth there, but you want to leverage your credit utilization. You don't want to overspend. And the more credit cards that you get, the higher available credit you have, which means what you use is going to have a lower percentage, right? For instance, if you have $1,000 credit limit and you have $300 worth of debt, you have a 30% credit utilization. But if you had $100,000 or a credit limit or a $10,000 credit limit and you only had 300, you can see how your credit utilization is much lower. So more credit cards aren't bad. The other thing is you never want to close your old credit cards because part of your credit score has to do with your credit history. And that's why over a period of time, your credit score will grow because you will get out of the young credit phase and will have some seasoned credit. So if you have open credit cards that you then close, you've lost that credit history. So leave them open. Don't close them. All right. So once you do this, you're going to be able to get your credit score going, and you're going to be opened up to other lines of credit. You're going to be able to go get a car loan without having to hit up the dealer to try and do what I call a shotgun blast, where they're going to say, I can finance anybody. And then next thing you know, you've got 19 credit hits on your credit report. Don't do that. All right. That will negatively impact your credit. Go to a bank or credit union and apply for a loan with the credit that you've established. Right? You're only going to have one credit hit, or two or three, one for Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, because they're the only ones pulling it. All right, as opposed to a dealership where they're going to reach out to a whole bunch of different ones trying to get you the best deal, and it's going to just shotgun blast all these different. I see it all the time. Anytime someone buys a car before they buy a house, here's another video: buy the house before the car. But whenever they do that, I see it, and it's not uncommon, and I'm not exaggerating. 19 hits to the credit report because they're searching around all these lenders trying to see who is going to give you money for the car loan. All right, don't do that. Be smart about your credit. The whole point of this is we're going to build your credit and be smart about it because you're going to understand how this works. All right, so that's how you can go from having no credit to actually building credit, and that's perfect for people that just got out of high school. Even a lot of kids just transitioning out of high school don't understand how to get credit, what credit is, and what you can do. Well, go to the bank and get that secured credit card. All right, and when you do that, you're going to be able to establish your credit record. Now, what happens if you need to make it fast? So the reason that we say it's like 4 to 6 months is typically because it's how long it takes for the credit bureaus to start reporting and getting a payment history that they can then report to the credit bureaus so that you can have a credit score that reports. Well, there are some credit cards, there's special credit cards that will report more frequently, like every couple weeks. All right. Now you can manage and monitor your credit cards utilizing Credit Karma. Here's another incredibly important video. Your Credit Karma score is wrong, but Credit Karma is very good for monitoring credit. So you can monitor your credit utilizing that, and you can see when they start reporting. All right. So what you do is you can get certain credit cards. There is a company called My Credit Guy, and I will leave a link in the description below, who have a credit repair company who are also very good. And they offer a couple credit cards that report more frequently every couple weeks, and that will establish your trade lines a lot faster than if you waited once a month for it to be posted. Now again, you can monitor that stuff utilizing Credit Karma. It is useful for monitoring credit because then you can see when it actually reports, but don't count on it to tell you exactly what your credit score is. It's a different scoring model, Vantage Score. Watch the video I showed you and you'll understand. All right, now, so that's how you can establish it a little bit faster. Now, what if you have credit, you've utilized credit, but you've still got young credit and you need to be bumped up a little bit? Well, what you can do is become an authorized user on somebody else's credit. And what that means is if you've got a family member, a parent who's 760 or above, and they have really good established credit, and they have let's say they have a credit card with a $10,000 limit with low utilization, if they put you as an authorized user, they will actually suck you into their score, or vice versa. You'll kind of suck their scores into yours, and that'll boost your credit scores up. So it's a credit hack that you can use in order to be able to establish higher credit if you're trying to buy a home and want a little bit higher credit score. Now, they need not be concerned because you don't need a credit card. You just need to become an authorized user. All right. The other thing that you can do is you can utilize that same kind of strategy to become an authorized user on a parent's credit card who has good credit, not bad credit, who has good credit. Then it's going to look as if you have somewhat established credit, and then you can apply for some of those credit cards, and you have a better shot of being approved for it and being able to then establish your own credit. And that authorized user can be removed at any time. So if something were to happen with their credit, then you could also have it removed from yours by having them take you off as an authorized user. So those are some different ways. Those are 3 different ways that you can establish and build your credit quickly. The important thing for you to know is how to utilize your credit, all right? And you have to understand that building it is going to take a little bit of time. So if you are in a position now where emotionally you found a house, you want to buy it, but you have no credit, sorry, you have to take the time to establish the credit. You know, those are some hacks that you can get around a little bit faster, but normally not in a 30-day window that you're going to need in order to get there. All right. The authorized user, that can bump you up pretty quick, but if the only credit you have is as an authorized user, sometimes a little bit shaky. So check with your loan officer and check with the lender and the underwriters to see if they would accept that if they saw somebody that only had trade lines as an authorized user. Sometimes you fall into some traps, and USDA is a no-go. All right, so keep all that stuff in mind. Those are 3 different ways for you to increase and or establish your credit score. And then until next time, it's all for one and one for all.